In the Forest Service, employees wear many hats, working in both office and field locations. As a result, some may be exposed to bloodborne pathogens while on the job. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration defines bloodborne pathogens as pathogenic microorganisms in human blood that cause disease. These pathogens include, but are not limited to, the hepatitis B virus and the human immunodeficiency virus. Bloodborne pathogens can be found in blood, mucus secretions, saliva, amniotic fluid, semen, urine, and fecal matter. In the Forest Service, there are jobs such as law enforcement officers, recreation technicians, and firefighters that may involve exposure to bloodborne pathogens. OSHA calls this occupational exposure. Employees in these positions are required to be enrolled in a bloodborne pathogens program. In these positions, employees can reasonably anticipate coming into contact with bodily fluids. Through their course of their duties, bodily fluids may be splashed on their skin, in an eye, or on a mucous membrane. They also may be exposed if their skin or mucous membrane is pierced and contaminated by a bite, cut, abrasion, or by accidentally being stuck by a hypodermic needle. Let's look at some real work examples that may involve occupational exposure to bloodborne pathogens. When clothing and other items such as sleeping bags are returned from a fire, they must be sorted before being cleaned. While on a fire, these items could have been contaminated with bodily fluids. Handling these items could then expose employees to bloodborne pathogens, so taking proper precautions and wearing personal protective equipment is essential. Let's see how these employees protect themselves at this cache. First, they set up a sorting table. Next, they don a pair of reusable, heavy-duty, water-resistant gloves. They also wear eye protection. Bodily fluids are highly unlikely to splash on them during this work, so they don't need to wear protective gowns or face shields. To sort the textiles, they cautiously remove an item from the bag and lay it out on the table. They carefully pick up each item for inspection, look over the item, and check the pockets carefully for anything left in them. They pat the pockets before sticking their hands into them. Finally, they place each item into a bin for cleaning. Every day in the forest, hundreds of recreation sites must be cleaned. Cleaning the toilets and picking up trash are the jobs with the most potential for exposure. Let's follow a recreation technician as she cleans a picnic area and protects herself from exposure to any bloodborne pathogens that may be present. To get started, she prepares herself for the work. She makes any necessary clothing adjustments because she does not want to touch her clothing or body after she has donned her PPE. She then puts on her rubber boots, safety glasses, and disposable non-latex gloves. She then gathers her equipment. She puts on her gloves before handling her cleaning supplies, because these items, such as the brushes, trash picker, and spray bottles, could have become contaminated during previous cleaning stops. Now she cleans the toilet. She blocks the door while inside to maximize light and minimize the need to touch the doorknob. During cleaning, she is careful not to splash any liquids or cleaning products. She cleans the doorknob and uses a disposable towel to close the door when finished. She puts away her cleaning supplies and cleans the surfaces she has touched, such as the truck tailgate. To finish, she removes her PPE and washes her hands with hand sanitizer. Next, she cleans trash out of the fire ring. Any trash in the fire ring has to be removed. Since broken glass and other sharp objects may be hidden in the ash or by other trash, she wears heavy-duty gloves. A trash picker tool could also be used. In this instance, she uses the trash picker and places all sharp objects, such as broken glass and nails, in a hard-sided container, such as a 5-gallon bucket. As with every other tool used for this job, the bucket must be considered contaminated and treated with appropriate caution. Used medical hypodermic needles also may be found at recreation sites. Since she has a trash picker with her, she uses it to put the needle in a medical sharps container or other hard-sided container like a bucket. If she didn't have a trash picker, she would carefully pick up the needle and place it in the appropriate container. She would never attempt to recap the needle, even if the cap is nearby, as recapping needles is a common cause of medical stick injuries. A medical stick injury is when the skin is pierced by a used hypodermic needle. A medical sharps container is red and specifically designed to safely dispose of sharp or pointed medical waste, and should be carried by all forest technicians who deal with cleaning up campsites and picnic areas. At a minimum, all Forest Service vehicles driven to recreation sites should be equipped with proper gloves and a sharps container. In addition, law enforcement should be notified if medical waste is continually found at recreation sites. There is always the chance of exposure to bloodborne pathogens whenever a person is injured. Emergency medical services personnel are thoroughly trained in the use of PPE, but first aid responders or employees who aid EMS personnel should be protected as well, and should don PPE as soon as an injury occurs that might contaminate an area. For this reason, the Forest Service makes bloodborne pathogen kits readily available to all employees. Kits include gloves, a face mask, eye protection, a CPR mask, and a red biohazard bag. One of the most important things employees must remember after an accident or coming into contact with any bloodborne pathogens on the job is to remove their gloves properly to prevent contaminating themselves. Let's take a closer look at how this employee removes his gloves. First, with one gloved hand, he pinches the palm of the other gloved hand and pulls the glove off in one motion. The glove he just removed will likely be inside out, which reduces exposure of the contaminated outer surface. He keeps hold of that glove with his still gloved hand and slips his bare fingers under the other glove at his wrist. He pinches the inside of the glove and peels it off inside out, trapping the first glove inside the other. He now properly disposes of both gloves without passing on any contamination. He makes it a habit to always wash his hands thoroughly after removing his gloves before touching any other surface. A waterless hand sanitizer does a good job and is easy to use in the field. Now, it is time for you to try the following exercise. You will need properly fitting non-latex examination gloves, a squeeze bottle of ketchup, paper towels, and a plastic-lined trash container. First, put on a pair of gloves. Next, squirt ketchup into the palms of your gloved hands. Now, remove your gloves without getting any ketchup on your bare skin using the proper procedure. Drop your gloves into the trash container. If there's any ketchup on your bare skin when you dispose of the gloves, you should repeat the exercise until you are successful in removing the gloves without leaving any trace of ketchup on your skin. Using PPE is not difficult, but it does take forethought and planning. Before performing any task that might expose you to a bloodborne pathogen, stop, think, and don your PPE.